What's up? I'm Pete Crane. Here are 6 ways to improve your stage presence. Who's this video for? Anyone really. Musicians playing on small stages, big festivals, singers, DJs, even non-musicians gearing up for a big presentation or interview should get something out of this. Let's get into it. Number 1, prepare. An absolute fundamental building block is that your material is prepared and practiced within an inch of its life. Even if these are songs that you played out for years, you want to make sure that you run through your set at least once a day for at least a week leading up to the show. Mainly this is to ensure that your songs are beyond memorized, they're installed into muscle memory. You want to be so automatic with your set that you can do it on autopilot. Literally, you should be able to be making dinner or cleaning your room while you're doing the vocals for your set, or you want to be doing a shopping list in your head while you're doing the guitar parts for your set. It boils down to one statement. If you have to remember your set, you're What I mean by this is that if you have to cognizantly stop and think, how does this song start? What's the first line in this track? Then you haven't prepared enough. You want to really make sure that it's, like I say, installed into muscle memory so that your body knows what to do when the time comes, so that you can spend the rest of your energy enjoying the set, communicating with your bandmates, interacting with the crowd, and making a good show. It's also important that you practice the full set as part of your preparations, not just bits and pieces. Practicing the full set will give you a sense of the ebb and flow and the ups and downs of your set and really get that ingrained as well. If you just find yourself practicing parts of the set, then when you get to actually perform the set, it'll kind of feel like it's dragging on, or you won't be quite on top of the energy flow of it. If you practice your full set every day, then you'll be a lot more on top of it and able to ride that energy wave and do a much better performance. Number 2, Jesus pose. There are legit physiological benefits to doing the Jesus pose. Stretching your arms out to the sides has been proven to release testosterone into your body, and this is going to calm you down in stressful situations. This is useful and applicable to both men and women, and can be applied to non-musical situations as well. If you're gearing up for a job interview and waiting to be called in, or some other anxiety-inducing situation, make sure you try and sit back and just sort of shoulders back, chest out, that sort of thing. And obviously this isn't something you should do during an interview, but beforehand, just try and stretch your arms out just for a few seconds. That's going to be enough to release that testosterone into your body and actually calm you down and make you more prepared for the stressful thing to come. Right now, I'm in the process of moving into state, which is pretty damn stressful. The other day, I started noticing that my neck and my shoulders were really aching, and I was just really bunched over. When you're stressed, your body releases a hormone called cortisol, and this has been linked with reduced testosterone levels. So in those stressful situations, you want to make sure that you don't forget to stretch, that you can put your arms out, and make sure you don't hunch over. It might not be your performance style, but getting on that stage, foot on the monitor, arms out, forward, aggressive stance, there's a reason why people do it. Number 3, know where to look. This goes for being on stage as well as being on camera. Darting eye movements are a real giveaway of nerves and are a lot of wasted energy. When you see someone on stage and they're looking down at their fretboard, looking at their bandmates, looking at the crowd, looking at their drink, it comes off as nervous. Be deliberate in your eye movements and you'll come off a lot more confidently. If I'm looking at that camera, I'm looking at that camera. If I'm looking at someone who's interviewing me, I'm looking at that person. Obviously, you can be natural with it. You might find yourself looking up if you need to remember something, or you can change what you're looking at. That's fine, but try to avoid that rapid darting look. When you're on stage, a good tip is this. If you don't know where to look for the exit sign. In most venues, this will be at the back of the room above the crowd's heads. Look at the exit sign and you'll have your head up, centered, looking over the crowd's heads, and it'll be more engaging for the crowd to look at, it'll look better in photos, and it'll come off more confidently. Number 4, have a stage outfit. Have a different set of clothes to change into before going on stage. For me, this can get on the extreme side with corsets and straps and makeup, or just on the rock and rolly side with a cut-up t-shirt and some accessories. But I always find the process of getting changed into a dedicated stage outfit, one that I wouldn't wear on the street, always helps me get into an other mindset. This is useful for me to separate the act of going on stage, where I jump around and sweat and yell at the crowd, from being the guy that goes to the local cafe and feeds his cat and waits at airport security queues. You don't have to lose yourself on stage, unless that's your thing, but just getting into a dedicated stage outfit and going through that transition helps you get into a mindset of just being there to perform, being there to kick ass, away from blokey self-deprecation and self-doubt, someone who deserves to be on that stage. If you don't go for an extreme look, Just having an outfit to change into for the sheer act of changing will be really valuable. Even if it's just a nice button-up shirt, it'll still work wonders. Number 5, practice in a simulated environment. While it's important to run through your set at home every day leading up to a show, make sure you also do this regularly in an environment that simulates what it's like being on stage. Rehearsal studios are perfect for this. You can even get some rehearsal studios that have lights and a stage-like setup, but even if they don't, and even if you're a solo electronic musician, going to a rehearsal studio will be massively valuable. One thing a rehearsal studio will be able to give you that you might not be able to get at home is volume. Practicing at gig level volume is a massively different experience, and what works and what doesn't work at that level of volume is really valuable to find out, and it's not something that you want to find out on a stage in front of a room full of people. Like my first point, it's an experience that you want to have so ingrained that it becomes muscle memory. I'm going to steal my mate Juan Espinoza from Cellmod and Mekotam's story here about his jiu-jitsu practice. Occasionally, he and his sparring partners would take their practice from the gym out onto the streets, and they'd wear plain clothes and do their sparring there. The reason for this is, if they ever got into a real street fight, not that that's the goal of the training, but if that ever happened, all that training would then go out the window if they'd only practiced in the clinical confines of a gym context. All that training would go out the window, as the brain wouldn't be able to make the connection between all that practice and what was happening. It's about making that neural pathway, that neuroplasticity, so that the body knows what to do in a fighting situation. It's the same with the stage environment. Practicing at home is good for making sure you don't forget your parts, your lyrics, but you need to reinforce that with practicing in a stage-like environment so that your body knows to use that preparation when the real situation comes. If you've done this, then you won't have to cognizantly think about applying your practice, and you can just get on with performing and having fun. Beyond this, going to a rehearsal studio is really good practice for setting up and packing down your equipment. It's one thing to go through a mental checklist to make sure that you don't forget any gear leading up to a gig, but actually being rehearsed in packing down your stuff, taking it to a place, and then setting it up with an unfamiliar PA or mixing desk that the rehearsal studio might have is the rest of the puzzle sorted. And being rehearsed in this is going to free up some mental bandwidth when you do get to the actual gig situation. Number 6, direct the crowd. When I first started performing, I kept getting the dreaded U of death, where people wouldn't come up to the front of the stage. Then one gig, I decided to ask the crowd to come up to the front of the stage, and they did. This is a very small thing, but a real light bulb moment in realizing that people really respond well to being engaged with in this way. How far you take this is going to depend on your performance style and your personality. When I saw Radiohead live, Thom Yorke didn't really say a damn word to the audience, but it didn't matter. He's got such a captivating way of singing and performing that people were super engaged regardless. Similarly, when I saw the electronic musician Amon Tobin live, he spent most of the gig with his head down, focused on his decks, but occasionally he would just look up. And you could tell in those moments there was almost a sort of surprise in his face to find that the entire venue full of people were just captivated on him. And he would sort of get surprised and smile, this really honest smile in those moments. And the crowd would see this and it would just erupt in this really emotional connection. And it was just a really awesome set of moments when he would do that. So sometimes it can just be a look and a smile to get that engagement. On the flip side, especially at the European festivals, I would see front people really getting the crowd riled up, getting them to clap along with the beat, getting them to make a ton of noise, getting them to really engage in that way, and that created some really cool, fun, energetic connections. So you can take this as far as you want. Just make sure you're not afraid to tell the crowd what you want them to do. Tell them to jump, tell them to make some noise. It can be damn fun. And that's it. These are the tips that I've figured out over the years that have helped me. I hope they've been useful to you too. Have you guys got any stage presence tips? Throw them in the comments, I'd love to read them. And that'll wrap it up for this video. So if you'd like to stay tuned to these kinds of videos, do hit the subscription button, maybe give this a share. If you've done all that, done the notification bell, maybe try my social links in the description below, and I'll catch you next time.